Today I'm bringing you my review of the DJI Osmo, and right now I'm actually using my cell phone. This is not the Osmo, definitely. It's really shaky, but I'm using my cell phone right now, and it is crazy because even if I hold it pretty still and I walk pretty slowly, this is the iPhone 6 Plus, and of course it is said that it has stabilization, better stabilization. I believe that the stabilization is probably in the front camera, not in the in the back camera, not in the front camera. But anyways, I wanted to go ahead and start with this one so that you guys could see a little bit of the normal way, you know, that when you record, even with a wide angle lens like this one, still you get to see a lot of the bouncing around. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch now to the Osmo, and it actually has a selfie mode, and that's the one I'm gonna be using it. And I'm gonna go ahead and also plug in a microphone. I brought in a microphone because it has a microphone jack, and from what I've tested, it actually records pretty good sound with a microphone. Without the microphone, it's actually pretty bad. So let me go ahead and show you guys that here shortly. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and switch now. All right, so I am back with the DJI Osmo here, and this is the selfie mode. A little bit challenging here because I have to use, well, in this case I'm using this mic, my Sennheiser MKE 600. Great microphone, but let me bring it over here. That's one thing. Whenever you see on the reviews that people say that the Osmo has a mind of its own, it sure does. You can go ahead and try to lock it in place, but the locking in place actually it is more like for whenever you move the handle up and down, and then it will lock in place the camera. But by itself, it does move a little bit out of the way sometimes. So you gotta go ahead and use the joystick. I really like the device compared to what I had, the units that I have utilized for the GoPro. I believe that it's much better unit in regards to stabilization, and I think that it really I mean, even though it's they're working on it, even though they are still working out some of the bugs and different things, they're coming out with good updates pretty fast. There was a problem initially that it would freeze up. The app would freeze up whenever you were shooting on 4K at 24 frames. They updated that. I have no problems of that. By the time I got it and I did the update, it was already fixed. But initially I did hear that people were having those problems. So they are coming up with updates pretty quick. I'm gonna go ahead and now switch away from it. I'm gonna record a little bit and then switch away from it so that I can finish my review, because this is a little bit challenging. It's not very safe to just be walking around. I mean, even though it's a pretty safe area here, I just don't want a car to run me over or anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and record a little bit. I'm gonna turn away from the selfie mode, and then I'll record a little bit, and then I'll finish up, of course, all the my first impressions video, my take on it, technical aspects and different things of that nature, of course. So here we go. I'm going to take away the selfie mode. You click 3 times on the trigger, and it should be going away. There you go. So here we go. Very smooth. I'm gonna work a little bit faster. Beautiful area here in Scottsdale. I tend to do a lot of my videos around here because generally that's where I do a lot of my work, and I also have my office here. So I'm gonna have a lot more samples that I took in Vegas. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off for now, and I will definitely show you guys more samples of my trip to Vegas this past weekend. And I took a lot of video there, running up and down the stairs and a bunch of different things. So all right, I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, so I am back now. Right off the back, I think that the ability to be able to charge with your external, cell phone charger or battery pack will be really useful. I was hoping for this to have something like that. I guess a lot of the manufacturers and cameras and different things now, little by little, they're moving towards that because they're noticing that their batteries really don't last as much we still have the problem of capacity and versus weight. But in any case, having that ability, perhaps on the next version, for it to be charged externally, that would be great, because these devices, obviously the nature of them are for you to be on the go, and if you really want to be on the go, then you really need to have the ability to charge your device on the go. Yeah, you can go ahead and take buy more batteries, and the batteries are not very expensive, and they're kind of small, but the capacity of itself is only 900 microamps, or milliamps, I'm sorry. So 900 milliamps is not very much, particularly when you know that a cell phone usually has about 3 times as much. Most cell phones will have at least 2 to 3 times as much capacity, and they're not using as much. Again, all the motors and different things, the gimbal and everything. So, the display, everything that is outputting, I think having either a bigger battery will be great, but if it compromises the weight, then just having the ability to charge externally. So that was one of the things that I noticed right away. I also noticed that you're not able to transfer this. I believe that it's built into the software that you're not able to transfer. You get a message, this message right here, as soon as you want to transfer a 4K video or a RAW file to your cell phone. Now, RAW, of course, that's more for editing at home. But as far as transferring a 4K video, it would be nice, because this way you can preview your footage without lagging, because previewing your footage with the Wi-Fi, it does lag, and actually in many situations I was even concerned that maybe my shots were coming out like that were choppy, but no, they actually show up great on once I put them on the computer. But whenever I initially was previewing pretty much all of my files, they were choppy because of the Wi-Fi connection. It just doesn't transfer as good. Even though the cell phone is right next, it still wouldn't transfer as good. So that's going to be something that I would recommend for an update. And also the ability to transfer your 4K footage or RAW files into your mobile device. That's the point of having a mobile app, right? You want to be able to transfer it to your iPad or your mobile device. So that would be another thing. Now, the benefit of this over the GoPro and the Feiyu G4S, that's a brand new one that actually has the ability for you to have your external display, and many of the new ones that are coming out. There's some really good ones, including one that will be waterproof. All the motors are going to be covered up or sealed in a way that it will be waterproof. I don't think it will be submersible, but it will be great so you can shoot in the rain or in situations where you will get it wet. But the difference between this and any of the GoPro ones that are coming out, really it has to do with the integrated system. And DJI, kudos to them, because DJI has a great camera gimbal system. They are the biggest, of course, the biggest drone manufacturer in the world. But not only that, but they became so big and so popular because of their system. It was the very first system that actually works. When I first saw the video with it, Inspire 1, the promotional video, I was really astounded. And actually my colleague Philip Bloom, he's the one who created it, or he was featured in that video. He shot in beautiful footage with the DJI Inspire 1. Same camera, actually the camera from the Inspire 1 will fit on this one, and it will work according to what DJI told me. But the system, the integrated system, is really the key factor here, because just like many integrated systems, I mean, we can see with Apple and other systems that everything's built in-house, it does have its benefits. Of course, it has its cons and pros and cons. The cons, of course, I would imagine that it would be that, well, you don't have as many manufacturers, you're just locked into the one. Same thing with the iPhone, you only have one iPhone, versus you can have hundreds of Android devices in the market. So it kind of kills maybe a little bit of that expansion, but the benefit is that it works. And because everything's built in-house, they will make sure that the handle, the movements, the gimbal, the camera, everything works perfectly, and that is something that I really liked. And again, compared to having a GoPro on top of one of the handheld stabilizers, that's gonna be one of the downsides, that you're always gonna be like two manufacturers trying to put it together as best as possible. But so far it's really not as good as a fully integrated system. So that is the benefit of having a kind of an ecosystem that works all together. Now, you definitely want to go ahead and watch that you have enough battery. Going back to the battery issue, because it's only 900 milliamps, it really runs out pretty fast. I would run out of out of battery maybe within an hour. And so you want to make sure that if you're transferring, you know, photos, or you're transferring small clips, 1080p of course, because the 4K doesn't transfer, then you want to go ahead and make sure that you have enough, because it is using all that battery, and it's not very fast actually. Transferring a small, maybe 10-second clip, 10-second clip, it will take maybe about 30 seconds to 45 seconds, or maybe a little bit longer, maybe a minute. So it's just simply not something that is very fast. So you want to make sure that you have enough batteries on that. That was one of my points that I took down. This bracket, actually I did not use it at all. Initially I was starting to use it, but then when I realized that I needed to put it on and off, take it on and off my cell phone, and then to be kind of in a situation where you're running in and out of tight spots, I noticed that it was not very useful. So I ended up doing most of my videos, actually 99% of my videos, without the bracket. Also, the bracket is a little bit hard to put on. Put your cell phone in the bracket, and of course obviously that's because it's very secure. Once your cell phone is in here, it is really not coming off. So that is of course the reason for that, but it is a little difficult to put in, and actually pretty difficult to put in, and you will scratch your cell phone maybe a little bit because it grabs on that good. I mean, it does have rubber, but it still is possible that you can scratch your cell phone, and I had to actually take my case off because it would not fit with the case. It just barely makes it for this device, the iPhone 6s Plus, just barely fits on there, so it has a little bit of room. Other than that, I ended up taking off the bracket all the time, just simply shooting and using my cell phone here at this distance. It works really good. It connects within 15 seconds. That was my take. I was able to turn it on real quick, and as you can see, you have to unlock it in 3 spots. So you unlock it from here, you unlock it here, actually this one, and then you unlock it here, and then you can just turn it on. It's perfectly stable, and then the Wi-Fi is already connected to your to my cell phone, and then as long as you have your Wi-Fi, it really will connect within a few seconds. Not very much. We can see here it's already connected. There you go. So that was very quick, and then you can just turn it off just like that. So just that run and gun situation is really important, because that's what these devices are for. Obviously, for run and gun situations, you want to be able to be quick, mobile, and they're not really for a major production that you're going to be like, oh, you know, we have time to set up, you know, here's the actors, here's this, and you know, here's the lighting. No, it's not going to be like that. This is going to be for something that you need a quick shot, and this is the only way you can get a shot. Because if you could get another bigger stabilizer, Steadicam, maybe a 3-axis stabilizer, one of the bigger ones, then might as well use those. But for this, with this camera, the Zenmuse X3, I want to try with the X5, but that's going to be different, a different review, because that's a really nice camera. But for now, this device as it is, about $700, and it really works good. But again, you know, it does have that situation that the bracket, I really didn't find a good use for it. I ended up taking it off all the time. Now it also benefits you that if you take it off, then you don't have the problem of the cell phone showing up on the shots, because in the beginning when I was panning to the left, and you know, my cell phone ended up showing up on some of the shots, because even though they try to limit that huge ultra wide factor, it is a little bit more focused in. If I see it correctly, I believe this is a 20 millimeter. And yes, equivalent to 20 millimeter, 3.6 millimeter, but with a crop factor is equivalent to 20 millimeter. So it's pretty wide angle. It is considered wide angle, or just the borderline of wide angle, and but it's not as wide as the 16 millimeter equivalent of the GoPro. When you have it on the ultra wide, they're super wide. So but even with that, my cell phone was still showing up. So when I took it off, I never had a problem anymore throughout the day. The joystick works really good, but it is touchy, and it is not. It's better to plan the shot than to think that you can pull it off with a joystick. Just because the joystick will sometimes, if you press a little bit too hard, it will go fast and it will mess up your shot. Unless that's what you want. You want to show a fast movement. But if you want a fluid panning, maybe 360 around something, you want to be very gentle. And it does come with an extra little padding here, so that in case you lose that one or it comes off, you can replace it. But it is pretty smooth, but it is very touchy, so you want to be very careful with it. That was what I found out. Now, one thing that I also noticed is that unlike some of the other devices For example, I keep mentioning the Feiyu G4S because it is one of the top ones for the GoPro. It is one of the newer ones. It is one of those that they advertise that you can have your cell phone next to it, because really, to be honest, we all want to be able to see the footage that we're shooting. The LCD display on the GoPro is very small, and it's just simply not very it's just not a very good LCD display, and especially in the sun. So that's why I keep talking about the G4S, which I hope to review sometime here soon. So unlike some of those other stabilizers, this one does not have a thread. And so when I watched all the tutorial videos, they show you that they have a bracket that goes here. It's kind of a mount, and then you can have like a pole extension. Then you can have different type of accessories attached to it. The problem is that you have another bracket here, and then it becomes more bulkier, right? So definitely it would benefit them if they would have the thread down here, just like the Feiyu G4S or other ones, that you can just simply screw it onto your tripod and things like that without having to buy the additional add-on. And it's not really usually add-ons are not very expensive, but it's more about simplicity and being all on one unit without having to bring that. It looks really like a rod that just sticks out, and it's not very small. It's probably about almost the same size of the device as well, or that's what it seems on the videos. Now, one thing that I wanted to discuss was also the app. So this one, I noticed that it was not the same app as the Inspire, the drones, because with the app I have the DJI Assistant, I believe, and so this one is called the DJI Go. So as soon as I open the app, it asked me to register it. I completed the registration really quick, and then as soon as you open the app works really good. It did not crash at all once, and I opened it like 100 times, closed it, reopened it a few minutes later. So it really was not something that I had any problems with the app. However, one thing that I noticed is that whenever you are again, these devices are for kind of smooth, quick shots in and out, and you don't want to catch too much attention. It really doesn't catch very much attention. Most people thought that it was a webcam, something very small. They had no idea that it was a 4K camera, right? Professional, because it is a professional. It's considered a professional handheld stabilizer. So one thing that I noticed is that when you use the app, to use the app trigger there, it makes a really loud sound, and that's just simply something that they added to make it sound cool. But the app could do without that, and I had my phone on mute. I wasn't able to find any way of turning it off. The shutter, when you take pictures, it sounds like an old camera, like, and then when you stop and start and stop the video, the same thing. You hear this loud beeping. You don't find that when you're using the controls here. So you have the control for the shutter, and the control for starting recording. You don't see any, you don't hear any of that from here. Just a very small beeping, but barely audible to you. But whenever you were using the app, then everyone will look around and is like, "Whoa, who's this guy?" Because it actually is pretty loud, and I found no way of turning it off. So that was a little bit annoying, I thought. But again, it's just simply they added it, and it's really not like there's a shutter that this has a shutter or this has, some kind of mechanical shutter. It's just simply that they built it into the app, because the phone is the one that makes the noise. So it is just built into the app, and I think that it would be great if they could allow us to go ahead and turn it off, because then you can be more of a little bit of I want to say maybe like a little bit less noticeable when you get in and out. You're taking a quick shot at a job or in front of public, so that would be great. Also, I noticed that the LCD on low light shots, whenever I was shooting, and I'm talking about shooting a little bit longer exposure, I took maybe some shots at 1/3 of a second, kind of on that range, pretty long shutter speeds. I noticed that the exposure was not right, and as soon as I took the shot, then it was really bright when I previewed it, but on my screen it was not. So that right there, it was kind of curious. I was curious that it doesn't show the true exposure whenever you're getting into those long exposure shots, the very slow shutter photos. So you just simply have to take a shot, preview it, on your media option. You preview the file, and then you see, and then you can adjust from there. But from using the on-screen, I was not able to get it to actually show the true exposure once it goes, that low. And I was shooting, like I said, 1/3, 1/5 of a second. I tried to do a little bit lower than that, but it was pretty blurry because I was trying to still handhold it in Vegas, and I was able to get actually a shot of me, I think at 1/5 of a second, but that's when I noticed that the first shot was really bright. So I had to fix it, bring down my ISO, and so then I was able to get a shot of me. And for the most part, the ISO is actually very good. It goes up to 1600 ISO, and the shutter, of course, you can control it. This is for pictures. Now for video, you can go ahead and control the ISO, and you can also control the shutter, but you cannot control, of course, the aperture. And the aperture is what because it's I believe it's a 2.8 lens, so it's not very bad for low light. I would like it to be 2.0, because then you can still really get into the low light lenses type, right? That's why cell phones usually have 2.0, 2.2. So it would be great. It would actually benefit the camera to have something like that, but again, they're probably just simply going with a good old 2.8. But other than that, camera wise is really nice. It's very light. I kind of think that the padding is on the wrong side, because I would want the padding on that side, but it's on this side. So I mean, it's just simply something that I noticed. I also like the controls. Everything works good. It was very smooth, and one of the biggest benefits is that you can shoot in windy situations, because with any Steadicam, with any mechanical gimbal, you will have the problem that whenever it's windy, it's gonna move and give you that pendulum effect, because it's moving your device. With this, I was able to stick it out the window at full driving speed, 75 miles an hour, and you guys will see here, these are some of the shots that I got, and they're really smooth. Being around this range, you would not be able to do that with any of the stabilizers, mechanical stabilizers for GoPros or for action cameras. I think those are, now we have the whole group of action cameras that is kind of the new area that GoPro started. They started these action cameras. Sony has their own action camera, GoPro, there's many other imported action cameras, and that's the whole section. So within the action cameras with mechanical gimbals, that's something that I have not been able to replicate until I got this device. So that is something really nice. Out of my shots, I think my success rate, specifically for run and gun shoots for mechanical gimbals, is lower, because you have the possibility of stepping wrong, or wind coming in, or something if you're outdoors. And so that's the reason, that's one of the biggest benefits of using electronic gimbals, because you have actually an assistant, the computer, the technology is assisting you to get that perfect shot. It doesn't do a great job all the time, the rest of it's up to you, but now you have an extra person there, right, helping you. So that is something really nice, and I think that once again, looking toward the future, that's the reason I'm jumping on right away to see what the technology does. I think that is really going to benefit us all. Mechanical gimbals will still be very usable in some situations, but the electronic gimbals are going to be what most people will want to use, because they're also much more fun. You don't have to go through all the balancing, taking 15, even the fastest, the best Steadicam operators, they still take a good half an hour maybe to balance correctly their Steadicam. But with these, you really don't do any stabilization, because it's all done, and it's all one system, so it doesn't get thrown off. When you set it down, it's all one system. So that is one of the biggest benefits. Overall, I really liked it. The bag is very useful. You want to make sure that you always have it pointed out, so that people don't think it's like a gun or anything, but it's really useful. I think the zipper is a little bit weak. It's not very thick, so I think it might break, but let's hope that it doesn't. So that's one thing that I noticed. And I ended up bringing always the case next to me, and just very easily putting it away, zipping it up, taking it off, turning it on, and while I'm grabbing my phone, by the time I grab my phone and open the app, it will be already connected. So that's how easy and that's how fun it is to shoot with the DJI Osmo. So overall, I really liked it, and because it's electronic, it is more fragile than using a GoPro. So you want to be very careful with it. You cannot dip it on water, of course, but again, how many times do we really shoot underwater? If you really want to shoot underwater or in those situations, just use the GoPro, because those cameras are still amazing. Low light performance, of course, on this is great, and the dynamic range that it provides is really good. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.